In the picturesque town of Oakwood, nestled in the rolling hills of rural Australia, a sense of tranquility belied the darkness that lurked beneath its idyllic surface. For 8-year-old Nia Kofi, a bright and curious girl with a mop of curly black hair and a contagious smile, life was about to take a dramatic turn. Nia lived with her father, Kofi Owusu, a successful businessman of Ghanaian descent, and her stepmother-to-be, Sophia Patel, a beautiful woman of Indian descent with a charming smile and a hidden agenda. As the wedding day approached, Nia couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. The sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows of the small chapel, casting a warm glow on the assembled guests. The air buzzed with excitement as friends and family members chatted in hushed tones, their eyes darting expectantly towards the entrance. At the altar, Kofi stood tall in his crisp black tuxedo, a nervous smile playing on his lips as he waited for his bride-to-be. Nia, dressed in a miniature bridesmaid dress, stood beside her father, her dark eyes fixed on Sophia with a mixture of suspicion and unease. She had tried to warn her father about Sophia's true nature, but he had dismissed her concerns, attributing them to her being a big girl now and needing to adjust to the idea of a new mother figure in her life. As the first notes of the wedding march filled the air, the congregation rose to their feet, and all eyes turned towards the chapel doors. Sophia, resplendent in her white wedding gown, glided down the aisle, a vision of loveliness that seemed almost too perfect. Kofi's face lit up with joy, and he took Sophia's hand, his eyes never leaving hers. But Nia's gaze remained fixed on Sophia's face, her eyes searching for any sign of the woman she had grown to distrust. She had seen the way Sophia's smile would falter when Kofi wasn't looking, the way her eyes would flash with anger when Nia didn't comply with her demands. Nia knew she wasn't just being paranoid. Something was very wrong. As the officiant began to speak, Nia's anxiety grew. She felt like she was trapped in a nightmare, and she didn't know how to wake up. She glanced up at her father, hoping to see some sign of doubt or uncertainty, but his face was beaming with happiness. The words of the ceremony washed over Nia like a tidal wave, each sentence feeling like a countdown to a disaster. She knew she had to act fast, or she would lose her chance to save her father. As the officiant asked if anyone knew of any reason why the couple shouldn't be married, Nia took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Wait!" she cried, her small voice echoing through the chapel. The room fell silent, and all eyes turned to Nia. Kofi's face fell, and Sophia's smile froze, her eyes flashing with anger. "What is it, sweetie?" Kofi asked, his voice gentle but confused. Nia took another deep breath and began to speak, her words tumbling out in a rush. "Daddy, you can't marry her. She's not who you think she is. She's been lying to you, manipulating you. She's planning something bad, and I don't know what it is, but I know it's not good." The room erupted into chaos, with gasps and whispers filling the air. Sophia's face turned white, and Kofi's eyes narrowed. A mixture of shock and concern etched on his face. "Nia, what are you talking about?" Kofi asked, his voice firm but gentle. Nia took a step forward, her eyes locked on Sophia's. "I saw her talking to someone on the phone, Daddy. She was saying something about a plan and how you would be taken care of. I don't know what it means, but I know it's not good." The room fell silent again, and Sophia's eyes locked onto Nia's, a cold glint in their depths. Kofi's face was a picture of confusion and concern, and he took a step forward, his hand extended. "Nia, baby, come here," he said, his voice soft. But Nia stood her ground, her eyes never leaving Sophia's face.
"No, Daddy."
"I'm telling the truth. You have to believe me." Sophia's face twisted in anger, and she took a step forward, her voice venomous. "You little brat," she spat. "You think you're so smart, don't you? But you don't know anything. Kofi's eyes widened in shock, and he took a step back, his eyes fixed on Sophia. Sophia, what's going on? He asked, his voice firm. But Sophia just smiled, a cold, calculating smile. You really don't know, do you, Kofi? She said, her voice dripping with malice. You really think I'm in love with you? The room erupted into chaos again, with gasps and whispers filling the air. Kofi's face was a picture of shock and pain, and Nia felt a surge of triumph. She had been right all along. As the guests began to murmur and speculate, a tall, dark-haired man appeared at the back of the chapel, his eyes fixed on Sophia with a mixture of anger and hatred. Nia's eyes locked onto him, and she felt a shiver run down her spine. Who is that? Kofi asked, his voice low and menacing. Sophia's smile faltered, and she took a step back, her eyes darting towards the man. I don't know what you're talking about, she said, her voice shaking. But the man had already started moving towards them, his eyes fixed on Sophia with a fierce determination. You're going to pay for what you did, Sophia, he said, his voice low and deadly. The room erupted into chaos once again, with guests screaming and running for cover. Kofi grabbed Nia and pulled her close, shielding her from the danger that was unfolding before their eyes. As the man reached them, he pulled Sophia away, revealing a badge that read, Detective James. Sophia Patel, you're under arrest for the murder of your husband, Richard Langley, he said, his voice firm. Nia's eyes widened in shock as she realized the truth. Sophia was a black widow, and she had been using her charm and beauty to lure men into her web of deceit and murder. Kofi's face was a picture of shock and relief, and he pulled Nia close, holding her tightly. I'm so sorry, baby, he said, his voice shaking. I should have listened to you. Nia smiled, feeling a sense of vindication. She had saved her father, and she knew that she would always be there to protect him. As the detective led Sophia away in handcuffs, Nia and Kofi walked out of the chapel, hand in hand, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They knew that they would always have each other's backs, and that together, they could overcome anything. The story of Nia and Kofi's ordeal would go down in the annals of Oakwood's history, a reminder of the dangers that lurked in the shadows, and the bravery of a young girl who refused to give up, even when all seemed lost. As they walked away from the chapel, Nia looked up at her father, her eyes shining with tears. Daddy, I'm glad I was able to save you, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Kofi smiled, his eyes filled with love and gratitude. I'm glad too, baby, he said. I'm so proud of you. Nia smiled, feeling a sense of pride and accomplishment. She knew that she had done the right thing, and that she would always be there to protect her father. The sun was setting over Oakwood, casting a golden glow over the town. Nia and Kofi walked hand in hand, ready to face whatever the future held. They knew that they would always have each other's backs, and that together, they could overcome anything. As they disappeared into the distance, the chapel stood empty, a reminder of the drama that had unfolded within its walls. But for Nia and Kofi, the real drama was only just beginning. They would have to face the aftermath of Sophia's arrest, and the revelations that would come with it. But they were ready. They were in this together, and nothing could ever break that bond. The days that followed were a blur of police interviews, court appearances, and media scrutiny. Nia and Kofi had to relive the events of the wedding day, and Sophia's true nature was laid bare for all to see. But through it all, Nia and Kofi stood strong, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. They knew that they had each other, and that was all that mattered. As the trial approached, Nia and Kofi prepared to face Sophia once again. This time, however, they were not alone. They had the support of the entire town, and the evidence against Sophia was overwhelming. The day of the trial arrived, and Nia and Kofi took the stand, their voices steady as they recounted the events of the wedding day. Sophia's lawyer tried to discredit them, but they held firm, their testimony damning. In the end, it was Sophia who broke down, her composure cracking as she realized that she would spend the rest of her life behind bars. Nia and Kofi watched, their faces somber, as Sophia was.